I just got back from hanging out with the fellas, and I gotta go on my nightly run. So let's speed through this video and talk about the latest on Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Zach Werenski. Because according to Chris Johnston, earlier this evening it was announced that Zach Werenski was presented with a trade option to a team he is unwilling to waive his no-move clause for. His CBJ situation seems to be devolving. Werenski never formally requested a trade, but has had honest talks about the future since April. It is unclear where this goes next. David Pagnotta went out there and said this following up on Chris Johnston and Darren Dreger's report. Scuttlebutt tonight is that Werenski rejected a trade to Dallas in a deal that is believed to have included Thomas Harley. Tampa Bay remains engaged in talks here. Philly was in the mix too, but it seems like the Tampa Bay Lightning is Werenski's top choice. Holy crap, Zach Werenski just rejected a trade to Dallas. Ay, ay, ay. Darren Dreger said the same thing. He believes Dallas was the team that stepped up and presented a trade option to Columbus that they were willing to work with. Werenski's preference was to stay east. Pierre LeBrun said the same thing. I'll reiterate again, Tampa Bay and Toronto would be amongst the top teams Werenski would likely accept a trade to. But can those teams satisfy Columbus's trade requirements? That remains to be seen. Elliot Friedman then made a post on sportsnet.ca that gives us all the necessary info. Zach Werenski vetoes a trade to the Dallas Stars. According to multiple sources, the Blue Jackets and Stars had a verbal agreement on a Werenski trade, which was to be completed on Wednesday morning, only to have it vetoed by the Norris Trophy winner. Werenski has a full no-move clause. Apparently, the calendar needed to flip to July 1st before it could happen due to contractual and or cap reasons. Thomas Harley was to be the centerpiece of the return, but other players and picks may have been involved too. Werenski's decision appears to indicate two things: that his preference for now is the Eastern Conference, and that the relationship between player and the Blue Jackets is falling apart in what could be its final days. Sportsnet reported last week that Columbus planned to meet with Werenski post-draft, but apparently the player felt he had addressed his future back in April, saying that he'd play out his current contract with 2 years left, but would not commit to an extension. The Dallas Stars appear to be caught in the middle, unaware that their trade, which sources say was agreed to late Monday, would be vetoed. They were informed Tuesday night, aka tonight. We'll see how things evolve, but it's taken a nasty turn. Ay, ay, ay. The Dallas Stars went into this week thinking, yeah, we got this trade sorted out. We're going to flip Harley and a bunch of stuff to Columbus for Zach Werenski. This is going to be great. We're going to have Werenski and Heiskanen. Oh, baby, that sounds so good. We're going to win the Stanley Cup after being eliminated in the first round this previous season. And then Tuesday night, they were like, wait a minute, what? Zach Werenski's not coming? He doesn't want to come to us? Are you serious? They were informed Tuesday night, and then this article, all these reports come out shortly thereafter. Oh my goodness, Zach Werenski, buddy. What's going on here? NHL Watcher went out there and said this: if Zach Werenski ends up in Tampa Bay for a worse return than Thomas Harley, fans in Columbus will have every right to be furious. Harley is just 24. But he was on Canada's Olympic roster. Losing Werenski would hurt, but getting Harley back would make it a lot easier to swallow. That is also an element to this that I think makes sense as well. Columbus Blue Jackets fans, learning that this was the potential return, a trade focused on Thomas Harley, or as the Dallas Stars once called on the draft stage, Harley Thomas. This is a really strong young defenseman. He had 36 points this previous campaign, 50 points the year before that, 14 points in 18 games in the playoffs in 2025, and he was a near point per game Olympian. Harley is a solid get. Is he a Norris Trophy winner like Werenski? Maybe not yet. But if all of this goes down and Zach Werenski ends up getting traded to Tampa and the return is less than what Thomas Harley could have provided for Columbus, Blue Jackets fans do have the right to be pissed the hell off. Not at, anyone in particular. I get it. It is Werenski's right to decide where he gets traded to. But again, between Quinn Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Larkin, Werenski, Matthew Tkachuk a few years ago, and even Connor Hellebuck now, it really puts into question the winning pedigree that some of these American guys are pushing to have implemented in their careers. Jay Fresh went out there and said this: "I genuinely feel very bad for the fans of teams that have had the misfortune of placing the leadership of their franchises into the hands of these players. Guys that aren't willing to stick it through, guys that are in the primes of their careers, and guys who are just abandoning ship because the teams they are on right now are not good enough. From Brady Tkachuk to Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski, Dylan Larkin, it is all these American guys from the U.S. Olympic team. Something was going on in Milan. Something was pushing these guys to get that attitude within that said, hey, if you're unhappy with your team, just ask to leave. Just indicate to them that you don't want to stick around, and then they'll trade you. It happened for Jack Eichel. He won a Stanley Cup. It happened to Matthew Tkachuk. He won multiple Stanley Cups. Now it's Zach Werenski's turn. And even though he did say he will play the next few years of his contract, he's got 2 years left at $9.5 million a year. The fact that he is willing to let this get to a point now is quite the tell. And if Dallas was going out there and getting a player like Zach Werenski, they would be an absolutely unstoppable powerhouse, even if Thomas Harley was going back in exchange. Just imagine Heiskanen and Werenski on multiple pairs. You would have an unstoppable decor in that spot. A reply out here from John says, "Every day I get happier that Caulfield and Hudson were left off of Team USA." That seems to be a prevailing thought, I would say, from this entire conundrum. Another reply from Rinkrat said, "It's getting to the point where I want these teams to just be like, screw off. You can play the rest of your contract, and maybe we'll trade you at the deadline of your final year if we're out of the playoff race. Why go through the trouble of making the trade happen now when the guy is on the books till 2028? Well, it's because they don't want to see something similar happen to maybe some of these other guys throughout the course of the past few years where their play falls off tremendously, maybe their value declines as well. I will say that argument doesn't hold with the Quinn Hughes of it all, because Quinn Hughes, it was very obvious that that guy wanted to leave Vancouver, and before Quinn got traded to the Minnesota Wild, he was absolutely dog cheeks in the final few games of his Vancouver Canucks career, just puck-hogging it a little more than usual, not being willing to chase loose pucks as much as he had been in the past. It was very clear for Canucks fans that Quinn Hughes was checked out, and it was quite evident that even though he played like that before his last few days as a Canuck, it didn't reduce the trade value that he had. Maybe teams really just want to make sure that this disaster situation doesn't happen. You don't want that attitude in the room. You don't want a guy who doesn't want to be there to be there. Maybe that's the philosophy of trying to get a Werenski deal done as soon as possible. This entire thing seems to be what the Detroit Red Wings are doing. Hey, Dylan Larkin, we're not going to trade you just because you want out. Give us more teams or we're not going to do it. You're on the books till 2030. Put up or shut up. Just go out there and play. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Zach Werenski rejecting a trade to the Dallas Stars? He wants Tampa and or Toronto. That seems to be the destination that is most prevalent in these discussions. Thoughts in the comment section about the future of Werenski. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.